We're talking about so much AI, but what about AI adoption, especially when it comes to startups? We have a stellar panel here with us. Our panelists are Vikram Chopra, co-founder and CEO, Cars24, Gaurav Gupta, co-founder and CEO at Gabit. Fascinating chat that would be. Karthik Raja Ram, country lead in GM India, ElevenLabs. Manu, Lavanya, senior director and chief operations officer, Axis Max Life Insurance, moderated by the brilliant Alexander Matthew.
This panel is very interesting from the perspective of how artificial intelligence can be used for common good, right? There is an insurer here, there is a health wearable representative, there is a voice representative, utilization of voice in artificial intelligence in a marketplace. It's quite the diverse set. But let me start with a question first and foremost to the gentleman who represents voice in AI, because it used to be my fondest dream to do voiceovers at some point of time. And then 3 years back, a very good friend of mine said, "Don't do it, man. There's no future. It's over." And that effectively has taken place. You want to talk about how, and there are a few voiceover artists in the audience, I must tell you that, and they might mob you at the end of this.
In India, right, voice is, and all of us agree, that is the most natural interface for human-to-human interaction, human-to-technology interaction, right? And with voice, and I think for the longest time in humankind, we did not type, swipe, or click, right? We spoke, right? And that's the beauty. It's so pervasive that you do not have to adapt to technology. Technology adapts to you, the way you naturally are, right? So that's why voice is going to be the future of how we engage with everybody else and the technology as well.
Okay, very interesting. There are more things that we want to talk about on that front, but I'll come to that in just a bit. There are actually commonalities, and I'll come to the marketplace last. But there are commonalities in the wearable health industry and in the insurance industry, because, and this is not new, gentlemen, this is something that was being talked about a decade back, but it's fascinating what the wearables industry is now offering the medical sciences space, which is you have this treasure trove of data. Talk to us about what Gabit is currently building, because you have some wearables that will just give you your regular metrics, but you also have wearables that give you advanced notifications for hypertension and various other things. What is the capability as things stand right now? What is the role that AI plays?
Hi everyone. So AI has a very important role to play in health in general. And you will see many positive outcomes come out for better health, longevity, when you lose all this data. So this smart ring here, which is the Gabit smart ring, is one of the things we do. It essentially exactly knows when my heart goes out of rhythm, more than anybody else. And it's fascinating. And if you play that data out over a period of time, and then use multiple parameters to correlate what's happening inside your body, you can actually really figure out what's happening. So Gabit is designed to be a longevity platform where you can track 150 plus markers on just one platform. And that's unique globally, because till now, your ring data or your wearable data was sitting on some other platform, your blood data was sitting on some other platform, your glucose monitoring was sitting on some other platform, and your basic other metrics were also sitting separately, sitting in silos, not talking to each other. But the fact about science and biology is that all this data is interconnected. They all feed off each other. They actually tell a common story. So we built Gabit in a way where you can track all of this through a smart ring, through blood test on one platform. And then now we've built an engine, which actually an AI engine, which looks at all this data, even your historical blood reports, and tries to find out which blood marker might be hampering your sleep, or vice versa. So I think that it's very, very powerful. And the best part about all of this is continuous data. And the last thing I would say just on the whole piece about data and AI and health is, like, before, like if you would just play back 5 years back, when you thought about better health, what came to your mind or what startups were offering were fitness plans, nutrition plans, go to the gym, eat better food, which is saying, I'll give you pain and you give me some money. That doesn't work. It's against human psychology. Now, tracking your health or starting on your health journey with or without AI is as simple as buying a ring online, like you buy apparel, you buy anything, and put it on your finger, and it's unbelievable. When people look at their own data, they move.
Yeah,
just
so
when
it's
they look at their own
incentive-
data.
it's
yeah?
incentive to
Rather than
move.
anybody preaching it to them.
But how much of what you do right now is AI driven, and how much potentially can be AI driven going forward?
So yeah, the entire assessment we are doing right now is across all parameters is actually built on AI, foundational AI. Second, we've also made this product more usable. Again, human psychology, all of us are lazy. We want maximum outcome with minimum input, right? That's how people are built. That's how we think. So we said everybody is moving towards speech. So we built an AI-based, speech-based food logging feature. So I log my food at the end of the day by saying 3 scrambled eggs for breakfast, 1 chicken salad for dinner, done. All macros, all micros in, and nothing else you do. So that's one example. The other thing that we've done is, again, when we launched the smart ring, people were like, what is resting heart rate? What is VO2 max? What is a good metric? What is a good range? Now that's where I think AI in the current form and shape helps us personalize at scale. So we built an AI health coach called Pep on the ring. So you can talk to Pep about what metric is good, whether your last day was good or not, how should you recover better, all of that.
Yeah,
so
I like the name. You need a pep
yeah,
talk.
so it's like a pep talk, yeah.
So fascinating. But you know what? When this data is collected, you have access to this treasure trove as an insurer, right? Because ultimately, when you need to, and guys, nobody will blame you if you don't understand actuarial science, all right? But having said that, you do look at a premium on a life insurance product and you wonder why your premium is more than somebody else's, and ultimately it is about risk. So if you have more data, potentially, if somebody who is using a wearable, does that make it easier for you as an insurer to price that risk? And is this the future? Utilizing AI models to look at cohorts of individuals based on medical data that is collected on an ongoing basis, how will that work?
Thank you, Alex. A warm good evening to everyone. Great question. Actually, it's not the future, it's a present already. So let me give you some examples. So when you're looking at proliferation of, for example, life or health insurance in India, the challenge is how do you find the next cohort that you can price the risk very, very specific to that cohort. That's a challenge. Everybody is exhausted salaried population. We know how to underwrite salaried population. There's a very clear, attachment of mortality to age, to income levels, very well defined for salary levels. What about self-employed? And the moment we start expanding into the Bharat, because right now the penetration of life insurance, for example, in India is just 3.7%, right? And we are looking by 2047, if you have to insure everybody, the question is what data do we utilize to make sure we can use it as a surrogate for underwriting lives? Where will that data come from? It will exactly come from these devices. So let me give you some examples of what's happening today.
Yeah.
The wellness proposition is getting integrated completely into the life or the health proposition, which means there are products today that will give you an insurance on life, for example, and they will have an inbuilt, quote unquote, either an additional bonus or a payout based on the health metrics. The products exist today. So a very sharp integration of wellness ecosystem and insurance ecosystem. And platforms like Gabit, for example, the type of data that comes in, it will provide humongous opportunity for us to underwrite lives in dimensions that were not possible before. That's one. The second part, when we look at this entire data and the veracity of it, even today, there's data like, for example, thermal imaging of face nerves to predict morbidity. It's called plasmaphotography, where actually we have devices today where I can take a photograph of a person's face and figure out what is the probability of morbidity and mortality.
This is in practice right now?
Yes, today, right. So there are companies that make those specialized cameras, they make that specialized software using Vision AI to find that sort of a signal that can help underwrite lives. Third, it's not just a question of adoption of these in the life insurance or the health insurance business processes. It's also a question of the reinsurers have now started innovating as well to accept some of these quote-unquote surrogate signals of health and mortality. So with all the data coming in, with, for example, ABHA, which is a fantastic platform that the government is driving to drive codification of health data. Once the wearable data comes in, once the data from ABHA comes in, that health data getting completely integrated into the underwriting ecosystem can actually help really underwrite to that cohort that I was speaking about in the beginning.
thank you for your patience, and I appreciate it. But let me ask you this. We've had conversations through the day about how easy it is becoming to create platforms and to create user-facing services through application or website. The question to you is, as a marketplace, one, how do you leverage artificial intelligence? And how do you fight against replicability? And how do you stay relevant? Is it through building trust? Is it through making a mark early? How do you do that as a marketplace?
Yeah, thank you. So, as a marketplace, I think internally we are talking continuously that let's be extremely cynical because the way we work is changing extremely rapidly. Today we are using AI pretty much in every function. So wherever we, for example, we are doing calling, I think we partner very deeply with ElevenLabs, and I think 20-30% of our calling has already moved to agents. And you know, now earlier we used to think of call center employees like headcount. Now we think of number of agents that we have used to talk to the customer. So that's getting fully automated. But even across marketing, finance, HR, for example, all the interviewing, the first 2-3 rounds are all being done by AI.
Wow.
Right? And video calls, right? The video calls are being done with an agent, right, who you can see and feel that you're talking to somebody on the other side. All of that, like just yesterday, my team told that even the culture round has now been moved to AI. So for marketing, all the content, copies, on the fly, right? The AI is deciding what content and what creative will do better and is able to test.
Are you able to judge the efficacy of this though?
We have seen that that actually our funnel of, like, if we were interviewing 100 people, we can now, feed that AI to decide how strict or how lenient we want to be.
Interesting.
With humans, you can only give them some instructions, right? Here, you can actually dial it up and down to say that I want a funnel where I convert 2 out of 100 or I convert 15 out of 100, right? So in last, until a year ago, at any point in time, we are an organization of around 6,000 people. Mm-hmm. We used to have, give and take, 1,000 roles open. Today, it's 0. I would actually argue it's negative, right? Mm-hmm. Our engineering team, not too long ago, was almost 600 people. It's come down to 200. Just a few weeks ago, my team gave me a demo of a platform that they said would take them 3 months to build, and a team of at least 6 or 7 was built by them over 3 weekends with no human beings.
But I want to talk about corporate conscience, and I want to talk about an alarm bell that was raised just on this platform short while ago, right? Which is, and I'm using the words not necessarily applicable in all situations, but people use it to describe it. Move fast and break things. This is the way that corporates have approached adoption of technology. But the question has to be asked. For example, Devi aur Sajno, bahut bahut dhanyawad aapka. You know who I'm talking about? Now, if a voice platform utilizes this voice and changes it by a couple of registers, you will still know who I'm talking about. What is the ethics, or what is the the conscience behind that?
I think that's a great question. So I think when we talk about AI, obviously we talked about the great things that happen, but clearly there's a possibility of a lot of evil that can happen. When we think about this at ElevenLabs, we essentially look at 3 things, and that's not an afterthought. It's trust, transparency, and traceability, right? You got to build all of those things into the platform, the guardrails and things like that. Like things like watermarking, provenance, fingerprinting, all of that needs to be built in, like consent-based voice cloning. You spoke about it, like it happens, deepfake happens. So you got to make sure the platform in itself is able to kind of get the consent before you do voice cloning or voiceovers and things like that. So that is a very essential part, because if you got to drive, see, AI, the models are going to get better. There's going to be incredible capability that comes out. But to drive adoption, you got to make sure there are these guardrails and governance mechanisms in place to kind of make sure that it is done in a way that is not harming society, but is only augmenting the capabilities.
Are regulations required right now? Copyright laws are very old. Do you think that...
Regulations are absolutely required. And it's going to come through a process of co-creation through private-public partnership. Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
It's required.
Fantastic. Okay, let's talk about the health industry. And guys, any one of you can jump in because ultimately you're talking about, in certain cases, sensitive data. And people, sometimes as an afterthought, will think, hey, I don't want everybody else to see that information. How do you go about safeguarding that? Because ultimately you are going to be playing a role as a safeguard of that data after a point.
So yeah, I think the philosophy has to be very clear. Our philosophy is that the user is in control of their data. So we build everything around that. I'll give you a small example. 2 months into the building Gabit, there were a lot of requests for gifting Gabit. So kids in New York wanted to gift Gabit to parents in India because they don't stay with them. They're guilty of not staying with them. They won't track their health. And guess what? As soon as we launch a gifting flow, what would happen? Screenshots of sleep scores, heart rate data, all of that will flow around. Like people will ask, can you please send me, did you sleep well?
Yeah.
So we said, this is not how it should work. So we built a user consent-based data sharing feature for health, where now one click of a button, you can share your data with your loved ones, your doctor, your fitness coach, and the app starts seeing their data. Again, it is data sharing, but the user decided to do that here.
Sure.
So that's the philosophy we follow for everything. So for example, tomorrow if somebody comes, like if there's a proposition of using the wearables data to say if people actually have a lower resting heart rate, they should get a lesser premium on their insurance. That decision whether I want to use my data to get a dynamic premium is completely a user's decision. It's not a company's decision.
Sure.
So the user says I want to use it, we will actually build something around that. So I think that is the philosophy that one needs to follow to the T. In terms of system design, the good thing is technology is so advanced now you can encrypt everything. Every layer that uses your data is at Gabit is actually encrypted to make sure that it doesn't pass through anything, right? But I think the important thing here is that you should decide what happens to your data. And of course, we'll put all the measures to make sure that it's completely secure over a period of time.
Manu, you want to add to that?
Actually, with the advent of DPDP as an act, there is a huge responsibility on the organizations on 2 or 3 big dimensions. One, which was shared, was consent management. So wherever we are building our applications, our platform, it's very important for us to take explicit consent, not only for capture, but also purpose of use, and finally retention period, right? Those have become very, very specific now with the new law. The other dimension is, how do I keep, now with the proliferated ecosystem of data that I have? See, initially my data used to sit in the enterprise. As organizations grew, a lot of this data sits with my service providers. I don't run the call center, somebody does that for me. I don't run, for example, there's an acquisition engine calling, somebody runs for me. The whole idea of what data should I keep internally, what services should I keep internally, the whole concept of data gravity. The data will now have gravity, which means you are better off keeping all the data as close to your enterprise as possible. Hence, having a significant change in our policies around even sourcing. What service should I insource, what should I outsource? Initially, were purely based on core competency. It were purely based on, hey, I'm good at life insurance, let me do that. I'm not good at calling. Now, some of these act definitions are changing the very meaning of that choice on what should be insourced, what should be outsourced. So a very relevant concern for the industry. All of us, I think 27 next year, March is the timeline by when everybody has to be compliant on the DPDP law. But there's a significant disruption that is happening in our supply chains purely to address the issue around data privacy that has become so relevant, especially in the context of health and life.
Quick answer to this. Conceptually, do you think that premiums can head lower with sharing of data and artificial intelligence, making things sharper in terms of actuarial science?
Oh, absolutely, yes. In fact, the discovery of newer cohorts. See, if you see the base mortality in life insurance, it's still based on what we call as the ALM tables, which are the mortality tables in 2014 actually. They haven't
and then
changed
COVID has happened after that.
Exactly. The tables haven't changed. But the winner will be somebody who can extract signal from that noise.
Okay, all right. On that, last thought to you, and it's not related to corporate conscience because ultimately you're a marketplace. But I want to ask you, it was curious for me because this entire jobs debate has happened and you threw a few numbers out. I'm just wondering, you're hiring, but you've also reduced the teams that deal with coding and certain other factors. Are you re-employing them in other facilities or are people leaving?
Yeah, no, look, I think, something we keep discussing internally, and I think it's better to be candid about it.
Yeah.
The roles are going to change rapidly, right?
They have already, seemingly.
They are changing, and they will continue to change even faster.
Yeah.
Even the roles that people are not imagining can change. Just few months ago, like my, now my engineering team myself is coming and saying that we don't need more people. We just need agents.
Right.
It's just easier, faster, and you can innovate and iterate just much faster. So I think, but with AI, companies will grow faster because more things can get done. I think there will be new kinds of roles. There will be more work to be done. The challenge is with intent to change, right? Because AI is still evolving very quickly, which means that you try 10 things and 8 will not work. Internally also, I see a lot of times people are like, oh, we tried this and it did not work, so we went back to the old way.
Sure.
As opposed to having this blind faith that, look, AI is here to change the world and we better keep at it, right? So we are trying to encourage all of people who we work with to keep experimenting with AI and become AI native, like how we are all mobile native, become AI native, right?
Absolutely. On that note, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time. Ladies and gentlemen, please, big round of applause for a lovely panel.